You're in the mix.
SKM presents Strictly for the Music Podcast. You are now live with the #1 podcast for all upcoming artists worldwide.
It's the real deal.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode. This is Strictly for the Music Podcast. I'm your host, SKN. The next guest I got live and direct is a Yukon-born artist with a folk rock sound, self-titled album, Phillip Alexander Nugent. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcoming to our special guest, Phillip Nugent.
Hey, thanks for having me, SKN. How you doing?
Doing great, man. I'm glad that we got this opportunity so you can come on and share your music and share your story. So let's get right into it, man. Describe your music to the audience, big dog.
So I've got a bit of an eclectic sound going on. My first EP that I released is a lot of acoustic guitar, and it's kind of got an indie folk rock kind of alternative feel to it. There's, some harder driven stuff and a lot of sort of softer stuff. That whole album, the first EP is, it was a long time in the making. So it was, some of the songs were older, some of the songs were newer when I recorded it. So it's kind of a mix of everything that I had done up to that point. But I got to work with a really cool producer on it, and he really helped bring it to life as well. So
that's amazing, big dog. Man, the album, man. I'm gonna tell you, man. When I listened to your first song, I didn't have to skip one track, man. That's how good and how much effort and time you put into this project. So I got to give you congratulations on that, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
I think the #1 single on that album was "The Girl in London."
Oh, cool. I like that you like that one. That's I've been really plugging the Corduroy Prophet. I think that's one of my favorites. The Girl in London, that's a bit of a special song for me. So
can you walk us through that song, man? How did this song come upon me, dog?
So I wrote that song. Me and my now wife were doing long distance. She had went off to travel around England with a friend of hers, and I had to finish some work. And she's like, well, when you're done with your work contract, maybe you could come and see me. And I was like, I would really like to do that. So I finished off my work contract. I sort of quit my job at the time, and I hopped on a plane and I traveled over to England with a ring in my pocket to propose to her. And that's the song I wrote that was kind of about that anticipation of seeing that person that you love that you haven't seen in a really long time. So that whole song is about, getting to see her for the first time in months. She was there for almost about a year before I managed to make it over. I knew that I was going to propose to her, and she had no idea. And so that whole song was kind of the story of waiting to go and see her, and, what I was sort of expecting and how I was envisioning things going in my head as I was, hopping over the pond to pop the question.
That's amazing, man. Let me ask you this, man. Was Phillip Alexander Nugent your debut album?
Yeah, it's my very first EP. I had recorded a bunch of sort of self-recording stuff and had made a few albums for friends and family. Actually, I think one of the gifts we gave our wedding guests was some homemade recordings of some songs of mine. And but it took a long time to save up enough money to record, because recording with the producer and getting in studio time is expensive. So.
Yeah, man, that's dope, bro. So Corduroy Prophet is a single off the album, you said?
Yeah. So the very first song I released off the album was Almost Perfect, followed by Corduroy Prophet. But Corduroy Prophet's really the one that's been getting the most play at the moment.
Yeah, man, that's a great song off there. Like I said, when I first went through your album, man, I loved The Girl in London, but then I can't lie, man. I love Almost Perfect, man. That song right there is amazing, bro. So let me ask you this. What was the creative process creating this album that you put out, man?
Yeah, so I I was talking to another friend of mine who is a musician and recorded a couple albums on his own, and had worked with a few different producers around Alberta, where I'm currently living. And he recommended that I go and talk to this guy, Russell Broom. He sort of mentioned that he thought that he would match my style really well, and he was really efficient and professional. And I went to give him a call, told him I was looking to do an album, and he was incredible. He's probably one of the nicest people I think I've ever met in my entire life. He was very supportive, very encouraging. So we got together one day just to sort of try things out. And the very first song that we worked on was almost perfect. It was the very first song that we sort of sat down and hashed out. I had already written the lyrics and the acoustic guitar part to it, but I didn't really have much else other than that. And so we sat down in his office, which was, he's got a really small little sort of studio office downtown Calgary. And I played him my song, and he was like, okay, I can see that. And he sort of like put together a bit of a drum track for me to play along to. And I did my vocal and acoustic scratch track, and then we did the vocals, and then he just did the rest. He grabbed a couple guitars and he just noodled around and made it what it really is. And I was so happy after we finished that first day. And we both had decided, yeah, we can work together. This is going to be good. And we decided to do the rest of the album. But it all started with the guitar and vocals. Yeah. And that song I started writing, I had this whole idea of a concept album in my head about the idea of perfect and what that means. And so I was playing with ideas of that, but that was the only song that I really finished with that sort of mindset. Was Almost Perfect.
That's amazing, man. Okay, so the next song, I'm sure if it's not the next song on the album, but the song that I caught my attention was Love in the Mountains, man.
Yeah.
Was that like a part 2 to part 1?
Love in the Mountains? No, Love in the Mountains is a song I wrote for a couple friends of mine when they were getting married. They're our best friends. They're mine and my wife's best friends. We hang out all the time. We actually had a band together with this couple, me and the two of them, called Fire Red Foxes for a little while. And then we all got really busy and we all had kids. And when you have a band and kids, it just doesn't always work. So we ended up having to stop doing a lot of our music together, and we're focusing on other things. But I was there when their relationship started, and my friend Tyler asked me to be the best man at his wedding. And this was my wedding gift to them, was this song called Love in the Mountains. It was something that she had said was that she always falls in love in the mountains. And when I wrote the song, I asked them each to send me a list of 5 to 10 things that they either loved about the other person or that made them fall in love with that person. And so they sent me that list, and then I turned it into that song. And the very first lines of that song, holding hands in secret, stealing hidden kisses, will you be mine, whispered in the dark, all those sort of things that sounds like someone sort of sneaking around is because we were all working together at the time. And they didn't know that they were allowed to date. They thought there was like some company policy that said, you're not allowed to date your coworkers. And so they were literally sneaking around, trying to be all sneaky about, their relationship. And the hilarious thing was is that the rest of the people we worked with, we all knew. We'd be like, oh, I think I saw Tangle and Tyler holding hands and making out the other day. Are they dating now? I think they might be dating now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And it was like months later that they were finally like, guys, we have something to tell you. We're a couple. We're an item. Is this okay? We were like, oh yeah, we all knew. So that's a really fun song. I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. All right, man. So let me ask you this, man. Stargazers, man. How did you come up with this song?
That one
man?
was one of the ones that took a little while to write. I started it so it goes back to me going across over to England to propose to my now wife. And while we were there, we stayed in England for about 6, 7 months, and then we stayed in Northern Ireland for about 6 or 7 months, and then we spent the rest of our time sort of traveling around mainland Europe there. And we were in the south of France. We were doing this thing called HelpX. Have you heard of HelpX before? No, okay,
no, I haven't.
Have you heard of woofing before?
Yeah,
woofing is working on organic farms, and it's sort of process. It's sort of ideas that people will volunteer. They'll come in and work on these farms, and the people who run the farms give them room and board and a place to stay and show them around. And HelpX is the same sort of thing, only it's not just farms. So you could literally be doing anything. Like there were a couple that we saw. I never got to do them, which was kind of disappointing. But there were a couple that were like, "Come and help us build this castle in Normandy." Or there was a surf shop in the Netherlands that was on this HelpX thing that we didn't get to do either. But we found this one in the south of France, and we were building an eco house out of mud and sticks and rocks in the middle of nowhere. We were in some sort of national park. We were surrounded by wine orchards growing grapes and almond trees. And we were working for this family, and every night they would come and they'd bring us this amazing, amazing meal and a box of organic wine from one of the wineries nearby. And, we would work all day building this house. And then at night we would sit around the campfire and we would get drunk off these boxes of wine, and we would watch the stars. And we had no electricity. We were about an hour from the nearest village. And that was all we did. It was amazing. I think we stayed there an extra week, maybe 2, because we loved it there so much. And then so I started writing the song there. And then when we got back to Canada and I had to go back to work and it wasn't as much fun. And so that was where my head was at when I was writing that song was, it's that sort of remembering the good times and waking up and realizing, oh man, I got to go back to my job and my real life now. And yeah.
Amazing, man. No More Lullabies, man.
Yeah. No More Lullabies is one that I actually wrote for my kids. It's
hell yeah.
Yeah, so I had this one song. It's probably the first song I ever wrote for my wife, called Summer Ghost. I don't think I have any recordings of that one out yet. I should probably do that. But my kids fell in love with that song, and they wanted to listen to it every night before they went to bed. And I was like, oh, that's so cool that they want to listen to my music as they're falling asleep. That's a really special thing. But I wrote this song for my wife, Michelle. And so I wanted to write something for them that was just for them, that was a lullaby for them. And so that was the song that I came up with, was No More Lullabies. And, it's exactly that. It's a lullaby to be like, it's time to go to bed, time to go to sleep. You don't need to worry. There's no monsters, because my love is always going to keep the bad things away. So
that's amazing, man. All right, man. All right. So let's go over here, big dog. Man, do you have a YouTube channel with any music videos that you've done for any of your songs?
So I've got a YouTube channel. I think if you just look up Phil Nugent Music or Phillip Alexander Nugent, it should come up. Let me just see if I can actually find the name of my channel here. It's Phillip Alexander Nugent. So I've got a lyric video for Almost Perfect, and a couple of live show snippets kind of thing. But then I've got a bunch of newer songs that aren't on that first album that I've been writing and working on. And I've started doing this series called Musical Postcards. So I live in a really, really cool place. I live in Canmore, right in the Canadian Rockies, which is absolutely gorgeous. Every morning I wake up and I'm literally staring at the mountains out my front door. Like I'm right at the base of a giant mountain called Ha Ling, and it's just beautiful scenery everywhere you look. And so with this one sort of playlist, the musical postcards. My idea is that I go out hiking with my guitar, and I climb to the top of a mountain or in a scenic spot, and I record an acoustic version of one of my songs. And then I post it up there, and at the end it sort of has like a postcard saying that's like, wishing you were here, Warspite Peak or something like that, right? And so there's all those videos on there, which I'm really happy about. They've been a lot of fun because I love getting out there and hiking, and a lot of them I've gotten to take my kids and their friends with us. So I think the one called How to Love is that there's a little surprise appearance from one of my kids' best friends who didn't realize he was in the shot at the time, and just kind of like walked in the camera and then was like, "Oh no," and ran off. And yeah, but yeah, so I do have a YouTube channel with a few things on it.
So, could your supporters expect any like music videos for any upcoming?
Yeah, I've got a really fun idea for Almost Perfect. I did the lyric video just to try and play around with it and see what I could do. But I've got this idea of this like sort of nerdy, cute couple on their first date at like a bowling alley, and it's kind of 80s chic kind of thing going on. And yeah, in my head it's lots of fun, but I haven't had the time to put anything together for that yet. And then I've really been focusing not so much on making videos for what I have recorded, but just writing a lot of new music and trying to work on recording it myself and trying to teach myself how to produce that sort of stuff.
That's amazing, man. So, all right, man. Let me ask you this, man. What was it like performing for the first time?
Exhilarating would probably be the word that comes to mind. I started performing when I was about 5 years old. I started in musical theater. My mom was really big into musical theater, and I remember I was really little, and she was in Little Shop of Horrors. Do you know that musical? Do you know that show? It's the one with the big giant plant that eats people. Yeah, so
oh yeah.
That was the first musical that I saw, and I was like, that's amazing. And at the end of the show, of the night we went, they let us slide down the tongue of the plant and get eaten by the plant. And I was hooked. I was like, I want to do this. I want to be on stage performing in front of an audience. That's what I want to do. And so when I was 5 years old, there was a performance of The Wind in the Willows. And I wanted to be in it so badly, and they let me, and that was it. I couldn't get away from it. From that point on, I was always looking to be on stage. We went to a music festival, and I don't know how old I would have been, under 10, still in the single digits. And I got up on this children's stage that was empty, and they had left the microphones on. And I started singing all the songs from The Lion King that I could, and had like this entire crowd, and I was just loving it. I was just giving it my all, just singing away. Hi, until my mom came and like dragged me off the stage, and she was like, "What are you doing? Where have you been this whole time? We've been looking for you." And just yeah, and I couldn't get away from it. I'm still amazing, like that. Man. I'm like, man, there's a stage over there. There's a chance to perform. Let's do it. I'm on.
Right. All right, man. All right. So I know that you already done a virtual performance, but in the future, can that be something that your supporters can expect?
Yeah. I was looking into. We have this thing here in Canada called Side Door. Which was created by this amazing musician named Dan Mangan. I don't know if you guys have heard of him down in the States. Have you guys heard of Dan Mangan? Look him up. No, he's got some incredible music. And he started this company called Side Door, which it started out as like a venue artist connection kind of site where you could like find venues or house concerts and hook up with promoters a lot easier than you would just on your own. And it probably been running for maybe about a year before COVID started. And when COVID started, it immediately switched over to being a hosting site for live stream shows. And so I've been looking into that and trying to figure that out. I've done a few things on Facebook, just like when I've had other gigs where I've put my phone up and just done a live stream onto my Facebook page. And I'll probably do that when I book more live shows, which is not looking like it's happening anytime soon. Our COVID numbers are on the rise here. So not a lot of chances for a lot of gigs at the moment. So live streaming is going to be the way to go. But I'll be doing something from my living room soon, either on Facebook or probably through the sidedoor.com.
That's amazing, man. So let me ask you this, man. Do you have any future collabs you'll be working on?
I'm a solo artist at the moment. I do have a band that I work with every now and then. I've got a drummer and a bassist and a guitar player who, when the gig calls for it, I can call them up and will jump on the chance to play, which is really good. And they're an amazing group of people. They're so talented. The drummer and bassist are perfectionists and are really on with their music. And when they learn a song, they learn it and they know it. So they're really fun to work with. And we've talked about spending a bit more time this winter getting together and doing some collaborations and writing as a group rather than just me individually. And then I'm trying to get some co-writing going with a few other friends of mine. But other than that, it's just me kind of sitting in my basement at the computer trying to figure out how to work Logic.
All right, man. All right. So let me ask you this, man. If you could collaborate with any band or artist, dead or alive, who would it be and
why? Any band or artist, dead or alive. I mean, I think you have to say something like the Beatles, Paul McCartney, because they're just the gods. I've always been a fan of Eric Clapton. I've really been getting into, like Radiohead. I would love to work with Radiohead or Coldplay, someone along those veins of genre and music. The Killers. Damn, there's so many to choose from. Who would you go for? Who would you work with?
Man,
there's the interviewer, never the interviewee.
Right.
It's a hard one.
Man, that is a good question though. Man, there's so many. I could pick like 5 of them. But
probably,
totally.
Tupac, I would go. Man. I don't know if Tupac would be my style, but JayZ, I'd love to work with JayZ. He'd be cool. Rick Rubin. I want to go and record at Shangri-La. That'd be so incredible. I've been watching the Broken Record podcasts. Have you listened to those? They're just
No, I haven't even heard of it, but
he interviews everyone
after you just said that.
Just has the most amazing conversations with them. The Brittany Howard one was really good, and the Questlove one was incredible. Just all of those Broken Record podcasts with him are just so amazing. He just seems like such a cool person to work with and talk to. Like, just be amazing just to talk with him even. I don't even need to work with him. I just want to meet him and have a conversation. Yeah.
That's amazing, man. All right. So, let me ask you this, man. How are you different from other musicians?
How am I different from other musicians? Oh, man, these are hard questions. I don't know. I mean, everyone has a different outlook on life, so there's that. Like, we all have our different perspectives. But there's just so much that's shared when it comes to music that it's hard to say that I'm really that different. I guess my difference is my stories, right? I'm trying to tell my stories that are going to be slightly different than anyone else's, right? If someone else had the same situation with going over to London to propose to their future wife, then they might write a song that's completely different to what I had done or had a completely different experience. So I think that's what makes me different is my experiences. Yeah.
All right, man. Hell yeah. All right.
Who is my music targeted toward? That's a good question.
Toward?
I don't know. Everyone, I hope. I try to write songs and music that everyone can kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? That everyone can associate with, that everyone can relate to. But I think it's a lot of people sort of in their late 20s, early 30s, that kind of age range, and yeah. Oh man, that's a hard question. Yeah. I just have to say I'm hoping to reach everyone if I can.
Right. That's amazing, man. All right, so let me ask you this: favorite quote or favorite line?
Favorite quote or favorite line that I've ever written in a song. I've got a new song called Gravity, and the chorus of that one is gravity, please be gentle, I have a fragile heart. And I think that's one of my favorite lines. You know, it's that that song's about the ideas of falling in love after you've been hurt. And that line just, I think, was the first thing that came to me when I wrote that song, and it just always gives me goosebumps. So I think that's one of my favorites.
That's dope, man. All right, so
oh man,
what is the history of where you're from?
So I was born and raised in the Yukon, which is a territory in northern Canada. It's right beside Alaska, and I spent the first 20-something years of my life there. And like I said, I got started in musical theater really early on when I was about 5 years old. And I just kept going with that. In high school, I started in a program called the MAD program, which was music, arts, drama, and dance. And so for half of my school year, I was away from the main school that I went to at a separate building where we just did theater, we did songs and learned music and created just cool things. Like we did weird art installations, and I learned how to play a little bit of the drums, a little bit of music theory there. And that was really formative for me. That was a really fun place to be. And that program's still going. The teachers that were in that program just, they molded me into the artist that I am today. And after the high school, I decided to keep going in the musical theater side of things. And I went to a college in Edmonton. It was called Grant MacEwan at the time. I think now it's a university, and it just goes by MacEwan University. They have an amazing musical theater program there. And so I was learning musical theory. I was learning how to sing and use my voice. And then after that, I kind of stopped doing musical theater. I've been working for the last almost a decade doing children's educational theater and writing my own music. I got a job in Banff to create shows and write songs to educate kids on the mountains and the animals that live in this area and the environment. And when I first started the job, I could barely play the guitar. Music was always in my life, right? Like at my parents, when I was little, I was listening to Elvis and ABBA. It was funny. My dad was really into the pop music side of things, like ABBA and Madonna. And my mom was into more of the classic rock vibe kind of stuff. And then they all liked, lots of Eric Clapton, Elton John, the Beatles. all those sorts of things. But I didn't pick up an instrument until I was 24, 23, 24. It was the first time I went out and bought a guitar. And it was after a breakup. I got dumped and locked myself away and got a guitar and then learned to play it. And I didn't see anyone for a couple months. And I learned a whole bunch of really sad, sappy country songs. Oh, man. I think there's a Garth Brooks song that people say she's only in my head. Gonna try hard to forget. You know, really tearjerker country songs like that. But I could barely play. And I got this job in Banff. And I had to write a song about all the animals in Alberta. And I sat there and was just plunking around on the guitar, barely could play a chord, and managed to scrape something by. And the job just kept pushing me to get better and better at playing guitar and writing songs. And it led me to start busking, which is kind of where I really started to get into my groove of performing my own original songs. Was busking on the streets of Banff. Actually, I think I started busking in England when I went over there. Like I said, I had written that song and I'd learned a bunch of other stuff. And when we lived in a place called Reading in England, I started busking. And it was hilarious to busk over there because everyone thought that I was homeless. Even the homeless people. I'd be busking and people would be like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you, where do you live? What do you do for money? And I'm like, I have a job and I live over there and this is just fun for me. Like, this is practice, but people sometimes give me money for it. So that's really cool. There was actually one day where a homeless guy came up and he was like, there's a shelter around the corner and they'll give you some food and a hot drink if you want. And I was like, oh, no, I'm doing good. Like this is just for fun. Do you need some of this change? You can take any if you want. I'm good. It's all yours if you need it. So it was a very different dynamic to hear where, when I busked in Banff, I would make, $300 or $400 in a few hours. I actually paid for my wedding suit in rolled coins from busking.
Oh yeah, man, that's amazing, man. Okay, so let me ask you this,
music
man.
Guilty pleasures.
What are your music guilty pleasures? Man?
I don't know. I don't know if I have many guilty pleasures. I'm kind of right out there with what I like. I really have been getting into Harry Styles. He's just an incredible musician. I don't know if people are sort of give him flack for being all poppy, but man, his music and his singing is so good. He's got a good team. There's a couple Miley Cyrus songs that I like that I thought were pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I kind of listen to everything, so I don't really feel guilty about listening to the music I like. What about you? What's your guilty pleasure?
Okay.
Auto-tune. Okay. Yeah.
Auto-tune.
You like music with the auto-tune? Yeah. The Vox Box kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just watching the Taylor Swift documentary last night. And as amazing as an artist as she is, I don't really know if she can sing. I think she uses a lot of auto-tune. Nothing against Taylor Swift. She's great, but yeah.
Right. All right, man. So, let me ask you this, man. If you weren't doing music, what would you be doing?
Maybe construction. Yeah, I took a year of carpentry, quite a few years ago, just to try something different, and it's come in handy. But I've never actually worked in a construction site. Because I got the job working for Parks Canada doing the educational theater. So I guess if I wasn't doing music, it might be something like that, some sort of trade. But I don't think there's anything else that I really want to do. I I want to be on stage. I want to be performing. I want to be writing music and singing. I mean, even playing the guitar is secondary for me. I'm a singer first and foremost, right? I started singing since I can remember. I was making up songs and singing them, and it took me until I was 24 to be like, I need to be able to play an instrument in order to sing by myself. And that's why I started learning guitar, was so that I could accompany my singing. So I don't think there's anything else I want to do.
All right, man. So, what are your goals in 2020 leading to 2021?
My big goal right now is to learn how to produce my own music. When I did the EP with Russell, it was incredible. I loved every minute of it, and he was so amazing. But I'd like to learn to do it myself. I think it'll give me a bit more creative freedoms, and I'll be able to come up with better demos and ideas for my song that then I can take to a producer into a studio and be like, now make this sound better, right? Like, it's good, but now make it sound better. And that's what I've really been working towards, is trying to learn the ropes of recording myself and DIY producing. And a new album. I want to put out a new album. I've been working really hard on the idea for an album, a full album. The best advice
What is the best
I've
advice
been
you've been
given is make shit happen yourself. It was like my first week of college, and they had one of the alumni students come in to talk to the class about a career in theater and acting. And that was probably the biggest thing I learned from the entire 2 years that I was at that college, was you can't wait for the work to come to you. You have to make the work. So, and I mean, especially in music, you got to get out there and you've got to talk to the venues and book the gigs. No one's going to do it for you. You got to make shit happen yourself. You've got to, get in people's faces with your music and let them know that you're good, and get the show. You've got to get the gig, and no one else is going to do it for you. You've got to start doing it yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to have any work.
All right. Dope advice, man. All right. So let me ask you this. What would you say to any upcoming musician or band?
Just go and do it.
Canada?
Just start playing, right? If no venue will hire you, go and busk. Go outside and start busking, right? Use open mics as testing grounds to test your music. Start an open mic. When we first moved to Canmore here in the Rockies, I went to this cafe and I was like, oh man, this would be a great place for an open mic. And she's like, oh, I've always wanted to start one, but I've never had anyone who could host it. And so I just said, well, I could host one. And she was like, great, you're hired. And I started an open mic, and it was amazing. So it comes back to that, make shit happen yourself. Make the work happen for you, right? You've got to start doing it if you're going to get any better. You've got to start getting up and performing in front of people in order to know what you need to improve. You could write 1 million songs in your bedroom, but if you're the only one who hears them, you're not going to get any better, right? You're going to be either too critical of yourself or not critical enough. And you're going to be like, yeah, this is amazing, right? Or you're going to be like, I can never write anything good. But if no one ever hears it, you're not going to know. It's the feedback you get from an audience that is going to drive you to be better and better and better. And I think that's something I'm constantly striving for. Whenever I do a live performance, one of the reasons I started doing the live streams was just to record my show so that I can go through afterwards, watch the recording, and be like, okay, I could do this better. I need to play more on time here. I need to sing this line differently, or I'm singing too loud. That's a problem I always have. I'm always too loud. So, without doing a live performance, you're not going to know where you stand. So you got to start doing it.
All right. Okay.
I'm moving into a lot more electric.
How is your music going to
a lot
evolve
more
from
harder
here?
stuff. I kind of got a bit angry with COVID and the shit show that the world is at the moment. And because of that, a lot of my songs have turned a bit darker. I'm trying to keep more of that drive and a bit of bounce to them. But it's definitely going a bit harder and a bit more electric. I bought an electric guitar this year right before COVID happened.
All right,
so
man.
I'm trying to teach myself how to play it, and it's going well so far. I'm writing some fun stuff. Shout out to Russell Broom.
All right, man. So you got any special shout outs you want to give?
He was so incredible to work with. I can't wait to work with him again. Shout out to my wife and my family, Miles, Beck, and Michelle. Shout out to my parents, and shout out to anyone who's gonna go and check out my music right now. Please go listen to it, go stream it, go share it with your friends, tell everyone about it, because without that, us artists are just playing for ourselves.
All right, man. So go ahead and plug in all your social media outlets.
Streaming service.
They don't know where they can find your music, man.
iTunes and Spotify and Tidal and basically anywhere you can stream music. I'm on it. I'm on Bandcamp. Bandcamp is doing they're waiving their fees this Friday. So if you go and buy my album this Friday on Bandcamp, it's Phillip Alexander Nugent. 100% of the proceeds go to me, which is a huge help in getting me into the studio to record my next album. My Instagram, my Twitter, and my Facebook are all at Phil Nugent Music. So you can find me there. I'm on YouTube. I've got a website. You can go to philipalexandernugent.com, and I need to add some more stuff to that, but you can get the album there as well. I'm hoping to get some t-shirts going here soon. And I'm hoping to get into the studio and record some more music real soon. All right,
ladies and gentlemen, there you go, Phillip Alexander Nugent.